Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Erwin, and I am so grateful and so honored to have been invited to speak at AWE Asia that I learned my greeting in Chinese. 大家好，我和龙井是有在 AWE Asia 演讲。我的名字是 Ben Erwin。我在这里与您讨论我非常中的主题 WebXR。我相信我会忘个下一个眼睛是事情为主最重要的，它为我们刚刚开始的新时代带来了新的机遇。Hi, my name is Ben Erwin, and I am here to talk about the WebXR device API specification and the immersive web and the era of opportunity that is upon us. Earlier this year, I created an event called the Poly's WebXR Awards to celebrate the pioneers of the immersive web, because there was so much amazing work in 2020 that it really needed to be recognized. And through that, we realized that we needed to get the developers and the content people together and talk to each other. So we held a day-long event called the WebXR Developer Summit this May. And that inspired us to create the WebXR Business Summit, which is on September 14th. It will have already happened by the time you see this video, but the WebXR Design Summit will be on October 14th, and I hope you can join us for that. The Poly's WebXR Awards will be back with its second edition on February 12th, 2022. And another project that I'm working on in development is the XR Hall of Fame. So stay tuned for more about that. Very quickly, I have a 25-year career in the web so far. During that time, I worked for the United Nations and the New York Times, doing a lot of content management and data-driven interactives. I've done a lot of agency work, which is what informs and inspires my attention that I'm putting into the immersive web now, because it truly is the next evolution of the web. But there's a bigger picture, and that's what people refer to as the fourth industrial revolution. Why is it the fourth? Well, what were the first three? Steam, where we created mechanical machines such as looms and steamships, which 100 years later, we transitioned into the electrical revolution, which allowed us to do assembly lines for manufacturing and to light up homes and to power devices. And eventually, we got to the digital revolution, which began around 1950, where we started to use semiconductors and invent computers, which that was about a 60-year revolution and brought us to about 2010 to what I now call the virtual revolution. Now, there are 6 principal technologies that are related to this. Connectivity is the most important part with broadband, which allows the different devices to be connected to each other. And right now we call that 5G, but the USB 4 spec is coming along for wired devices, 6G is coming, whatever we call it. High-speed connectivity is an essential part of the operations and the digital transformation era that we're in. IoT, or the Internet of Things, is the hardware component of this. Decentralization through distributed ledger technology, also known as blockchain, allows us to create immutable records for permissionless interactions through smart contracts and so forth. And that's a very important technology, as is AI, which is a broad catch-all term for many different types of automation intelligent systems, such as machine learning and deep learning and natural language processing and so forth. And lastly, quantum computing is coming on the horizon. It still doesn't quite work yet, but when it gets here, it's going to be so much faster than additional or than traditional computers are ever able to do. And that's a good thing, because XR, which is the content portion of it, is extremely demanding for processing. So over the last 200 years, which I've condensed onto this slide, we've seen an evolution in media, from the invention of photography all the way to the immersive web of today. We see a gradual increase, and 100 years of technology goes by very quickly. And the first 100 years, we invented sound and sound recording and color and radio and color movies and even talkies. And then in the second century, we when we invented CGI, and we invented that set off computer networking. We created extended reality, and the World Wide Web came from that. And so with high-speed internet and broadband, and now volumetric video, we have seen a rapid evolution over the last 200 years that accelerates as it goes along, to see what we have today. And this video that I created is just sort of a quick recap of some of the important milestones in the invention of technologies and formats that happened. So the immersive web is an essential new technology, because it allows us to distribute extended reality, that is VR, virtual and AR, augmented reality experiences, over the open web. And we call them experiences because they're not just 2D websites that are the traditional flat experiences that we have. They're places that you can go and things that you can be inside of. And they are designed to run on the devices of the future, as well as be backward compatible through the past. So the specification that makes it possible for it to run in a browser allows people who build these experiences to have confidence that people will be able to keep viewing them in the future. And they run on desktop, tablet, mobile, and in the immersive browser. Oculus is leading the space today, but there's a lot of competition that's coming that will allow there be a much larger market for immersive browsers that allow people to have immersive experiences with 6 degrees of freedom from a website. And what makes this possible is a confluence of various standards created by the Khronos group. WebGL is a very important part of that, where it gives very low-level graphics processing for web browsers to access. The GLTF model the GLTF is the format that allows models to be distributed over the web. Very lightweight, efficient format. And OpenXR is a critical technology that is a runtime that allows developers who are creating experiences to be able to compile them and have them run across multiple different devices. But very notably, at the bottom of the stack there is Chromium, which is Google's open source browser engine. And that is also the same engine that is used by the Oculus browser and many other 2D browsers. Only Firefox and Safari, which use Gecko and WebKit as a runtime engine, have a different take on WebXR. But WebXR has been compiled to Gecko for the Firefox Reality browser, and Safari has announced that WebXR is in development, and it has been ported to WebKit. WebRTC is an essential technology that allows the communication between devices in real time. That's what RTC stands for, real-time communication. WebAssembly is the technology that is very low level that allows browser experiences to also have higher, more performant, complex graphics to be able to run on it. And WebGPU is a new spec by the W3C that is forthcoming that will allow very powerful graphics processing to happen from JavaScript. Now, this is important because there are 12 million JavaScript developers out there, which is as many as there are C# and C++ developers. And that's a pretty significant number. And for those 12 million developers, when they're called upon to create immersive experiences, they will be able to use the skills that they have, as well as to upskill to be able to create immersive experiences and distribute them. And this is going to touch just about every sector, but here I've highlighted 6 different occupations that will need to really understand the implications of this technology. So I just talked about how it will be important for developers, but it's also important for creatives who will do spatial and experiential design, which is far more sophisticated than building for a 2D canvas. This is going to instigate brand makeovers. And when people go into immersive experiences, they're called worlds. So these worlds need to be built. And for marketers, this is going to allow their viewers, their audience, to be able to have experiences and increase engagement like we've never seen before. And executives can use this as a tool for training and collaboration and visualization. Producers can create events where people can, from wherever they are, attend a virtual event and have the presence of being with other people. Virtual production is used in Hollywood to make filmmaking and is very complex, but in WebXR, it can be used where you build a world and you are the camera and you're able to move through this world, and that makes a lot of interesting production possible. And lastly, for salespeople, those who are on the innovative curve and want to speak to clients who really want cutting edge experiences, this is something to really understand what's possible so that you can sell to them the next level of entertainment and experience and information, all the different use cases that WebXR is for. And so the most important things that I want you to take away from this is the future-proofing aspect of WebXR. That is the ultimate why to use WebXR, because most apps are designed to have a limited life, and they can't really help it because operating systems upgrade and they deprecate features so that apps no longer run. And if they are not continually updated, then they eventually die. And that is not the case with websites. You can still load websites from the 90s on today's browsers, and that is the intent behind the WebXR device API, that immersive experiences that are built today will be able to run on the browsers of the future. And for consumers, the best way to actually get to an experience is to put in a URL through the browser. So it makes it easy for them, and it makes it easy for developers to be able to post experiences. And that is a freedom that they don't have with curated app stores that get to decide whether or not your project is worthy of being posted. People can just go to it on the web just like they would any other website. The metaverse, as we call it, has become a very popular term. Allows us to travel between worlds and go with people. So these experiences that we have, we can go from one to another together. And there are people working on making this interoperable so that these worlds can be traversed in between different platforms. And so once we have protocols in place to make that easy for people, then we will have a very powerful metaverse, and it will grow quickly, and standards will enable that. So right now is a moment of opportunity, and the demand for XR content is coming. The devices will be hitting the market, and by the time the first generation of devices has been released, there will be a demand. But by the time the second generation and the third generation of these devices comes out, there will be such a demand because spatial computing is the next computing platform, and the web is the best way to deliver those experiences. I will be making a live presentation with Terry Schussler and Alina Kadlubski at AWE in Santa Clara in November. And I invite you all to come and join us because we will be demonstrating the possibilities of augmented reality in stereoscopic 3D browsers live on stage. So please join us. I hope you can make it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation. 谢谢你的聆听。再见. This is Ben Erwin. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed and have a wonderful day.